This channel is supported by TrueFire. TrueFire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses. Okay, my buddy Johan from France, if you've not checked out his channel, JohanJoosLaur, he's got great playing, French guy, it's not his fault, but great playing, great tone through some very reasonably priced gear. Anyway, he asked me to check out this progression. And I kind of did this for a little bit. I wanted to talk about how I'm sort of navigating these changes as it's moving through basically two key centers. This may be going to sound complicated to start with, but I think you might find that if you've got a fairly good grasp of like the major scale or the pentatonic, you should be able to maybe follow along with this and get where I'm coming from. I'll put the backing track up on Patreon. I don't know if there'll be a tab to go along with this, probably won't need it, but yeah, that'll be the place to go. If you like these sorts of videos where I talk through some stuff that is, you know, less gear based and more theory or approach based, then do feel free to leave a comment. If you've got suggestions for topics as well, you could even email me them. I might even read it. Let's first of all talk about where these chords are coming from. So the real concept here is first of all to have an idea of the home of each chord. So this is very much, to me, the 1, and it's a chord 1. This is an E major 9. Then what is this? So that, it's got an E in the bass, it's got a C, G, and then there's a B. That's an A, sorry. So like a C6, major 7. So to me, that sounds kind of like a chord 4. So I think of that as chord 4 of G major. Then we got this, which I think sounds like it's coming from E major again, but we've got C sharp in there. I think of that as an A kind of with a C sharp in the bass. And then that's kind of like G, F sharp, maybe that's coming from that same C as before. So we're essentially jumping quickly. We're jumping quickly between two keys here. E major to G major, back to E major, back to G major. Now there's a Steve Lukather thing that he talks about, or I've seen him talk about this when it came to playing Human Nature, which actually doesn't jump between keys particularly when he's talking about this, but it's something I've definitely seen jazz players talk about as well. This idea of common tones, and what we're really thinking about here is imposing the two scales or the two homes and finding where there is something that is shared between the two of them. So, our E major pentatonic and our G major pentatonic or E minor could be a really good starting point. So let's just do like simple versions of both, and we'll just go between the first two chords. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the E works for both. The F sharp works for both. The A works for both. The B works for both. The D doesn't really work for the E, does work for the second lot, and we're back to E. So we can hit the E, G, A, B, so that's the E minor. What about the major side? So the E works, the F sharp works, does the G sharp work? Not really over the second lot, does over the first. The B works over all of it. This one, which is our C sharp, is only going to work over the first chord, and we're back to our E. We basically found there that the E is a common tone that will work for both. The F sharp is, the A was, the B was. So we could focus on just trying to hit those common things, and hopefully in that way we can find some So it's then creating some kind of glue that can tie together some of the, you know, tricky stuff there, right? So playing an E, playing an E minor, if you think about it in that way and aim for like the B, or aim for one of your common tones, you can find it actually a lot easier to kind of navigate this. So when you're coming to like a chord change, use your common tone as an anchor point to sort of pull you into the other key, and maybe pause on it and then start to think about what you're aiming for again. So we're now in G. And I'm using that as like the glue between the two bits. Now the other really good approach to this is to do the opposite. So you aim specifically for notes that are no longer shared. So the absolute opposite approach to common chord tones. So if I'm playing and I'm thinking now, I'm now looking for exactly the notes that are different between an E major pentatonic and an E minor. There's the major, there's the minor. So we've got the G sharp from the major, major, minor, major again, Now that is even, I think, a better approach than common tones, because it is instantly getting to the root of the problem, if you get what I mean, which is that there are things changing between these keys, and there are key notes that are going to be actually making it sound like you're either nailing it or not. And that can be a really good approach, I think. So target the difference. So in this case where we're playing between E major and E minor, one of the real key differences is going to be this G sharp. Are there others? So if we play our E major scale, so E and F sharp are shared, G sharp is only in E major, A is in both, B is in both, C sharp is only in E major, D sharp is only in E major. So we could also, we're going to have three notes then, right, that are going to be different. We've got the G sharp, the C sharp and the D sharp. Those are our notes that distinguish G major from E major. Let's try it. So we've got those three notes. So we're going to aim to hit those, and if we're in G major, we're going to have to either go down, either way like that. So what did we say? We said C sharp and D sharp. Conversely, when we hit into the G major part, if we're going between these two modalities, we're going to be aiming for that G or D, right? To kind of accentuate what is making that right. Okay, let's try again. Now G. Simple-ish when you think about it, but a real thing that is gonna, if you practice this, so in this case I'm literally just switching between two. You could call this like modal interchange, you could call it a bunch of different things, but it's quite a common move that you might have, like an E major going to like a C major, where you're jumping between two, especially in a fusion context, but also in like a neo-soul, in a jazz context. Even to some extent, like this is a bit of a bluesy thing because you jump in that minor third. So what we're going to do is first of all find common tones and target those in our improvisation, and just sort of place them on the fretboard and think about where they are and try and connect them up, and use that as like your little bridge between the two things, because it's often difficult to connect ideas across key changes, is essentially the idea that we're trying to get to here. And then the other approach is literally what are the differences between E major and G major in this context? And if I target the difference, then I know that I'm going to be targeting what is switching out, and I'm going to be hitting some element of finding notes which are in that new place, like on the switch. So that's what I would try to do, is so that each time you're changing your chord, you're hitting one of those notes which is of consequence, which is different between the two keys. Something to aim for sure. So right, on my first E, I'm going to hit a unique note to E, which is going to be this D sharp. Then I'm going to hit a note that's going to be unique to G major. I might just hit a G. I could hit a D, because that's going to be closer. This is common, so I can stay with it. So's the A, fall to the G sharp. We can use the geography element of the guitar, the physical element, to actually guide us in this as well. So if you just imagine that you're hitting like an E minor pentatonic, and then in your head kind of superimpose the major as well, and we'll do that with the major and minor scales, then you can also sort of do like a mental bit of mapping, if you practice this like in the right way, where you can just sort of be guided by what those shapes look like in your head if you're getting there. I hope this was somewhat useful, and give you some insight into how I might think about playing over these sorts of chord progressions. They occur from time to time. Marvin Gaye's What's Going On, the outro section of that, has some of this, where you're going from an A minor chord to a B major chord. Same sort of thing, that A minor is coming from a home of G major, and then that B sus or B dominant is coming from a home of E major. It's the exact same approach here, and what I've tried to do is on those changes be hitting either a common tone or the other approach, which is hit notes which you know are unique to that scale. Does that make any sense? Hopefully. I'll catch you in another video soon. Leave a comment. If you've got other lesson type stuff that you want me to try and tackle, shoot me an email. Cheers for stopping by.